Hey all, welcome to a new episode of Zenetics. In this episode, we are going to discuss about top asked Python interview questions for data scientists and data analysts. So in this episode, we will cover basic questions, which is asked basic Python question, which is asked in the interviews, along with application level questions, programming, or ML questions, which are usually asked in the interview of a data scientist or data interviews or a ML engineer. I think without wasting much time, we can quickly jump into the video. Starting with the basic question. So why basic question? So basic questions are very important. So before jumping to any ML questions, so every interview asks few basic questions to check how good you are with Python, so that they can leverage you, yeah, they can upskill you if needed in the future. So starting with the first question, I think a very basic question. What is the difference between list, tuple, dictionary, and set in Python? So this question I have heard multiple interviewers asking. This is to check how good you are with Python in your basics. So starting with list is non-homogeneous data structure. That means it is having a single row and like a column structure. Again, it allows duplicate elements. List is mutable and list is ordered, and list is usually represented by square bracket. Whereas a tuple have the same property as list except the one thing. So if you look into here, like, it's like non-homogeneous. It also allow duplicate elements, but tuple is immutable. So if you look into that, tuple is immutable, whereas tuple is ordered and represented by this bracket. So the only difference is like list is mutable and tuple is immutable. And looking into dictionary, it's quite different from list and tuple, because there the structure is like they have a key value pair. Again, dictionary doesn't allow duplicate value, so very important thing is like dictionary doesn't allow duplicate value. And other thing is like dictionary is mutable, but its keys cannot have duplicate values there. Again, dictionary is ordered. And set is also quite different, because set is again a non-homogeneous structure. But the thing which makes set difference is like set doesn't allow duplicate value and set is unordered. That is something which makes set different from list and tuple. Moving to next question. So the next question is like, how do you merge two data frames in Python? So this can be done in multiple ways. So here we can use pandas to merge two data frame, which is very efficient and very easy. So the syntax is like, first import the package, like import pandas as pd, then pd.merge df1 df2 on. So this df1 df2 are nothing but they are just data frames, and on is the common column where we need to merge. The next question is, what is lambda function in Python? So this is the most asked question in Python to check like how good you are with function. So the question are like, what is lambda function, or how lambda is different from a user defined function, etc, etc. Talking about lambda function, lambda is an anonymous function. It can take many inputs, like it can take any number of arguments, but can have only single expression or a one expression. So if you look into lambda, it's like an anonymous function, and it's like a written in single line. It's a single line function. So that's the difference between lambda and other user defined function. And then how do you handle missing values in data set in Python? It's a very important question, because irrespective of how big model you are building, or if you are working on LLM, you are creating a GPT model, it doesn't matter. Treating data is very important, because before creating any model, before creating any GPT, the basic thing is to clean the data, and in that very important thing is how to handle missing values. So there can multiple ways of handling missing values. One is like dropping the missing values. So if you see like we have these many missing values, just drop those rows. So it's not every time possible, but that's an option. So that is like df dot drop na. The second option is like df dot fill na value. So instead of dropping that, we can fill that na value with some other value, any specified value. And the third most used technique is interpolate the values. So we can interpolate the null's value with any other value. Next question is like, how would you find duplicate values in Python? Again, this is again a part of data cleaning process. Yeah, data cleansing process, because removing nulls, identifying the outlier, treating the outlier, identifying the duplicate values, removing the duplicate values are very basic things in any data engineer's job or data scientist job. So how can we do that? Very simple. Like there is a function called duplicated function. So you can use that function, or you can again drop the duplicate. So using data.duplicated, you can actually find the duplicates, or using data.duplicates, drop duplicates, you can actually drop that function. Next question is, what is list compression in Python? Again, list compression is a technique which is used to find and create a list from existing list. For example, check here. We have a word called genetics. It's a list. So it's a list item in a list. So what we are currently doing is like we are just splitting this genetics so that we can use each items, yeah, each letter as a item in a list. So if you check, this genetics as a list is now converted to this list, which where each word, yeah, each letter is an item of a list. So that is list compression. So these are like few basic questions which were like asked in many interview questions. So I think now we can move more on the ML questions, machine learning questions or modeling questions, which are like asked to check how good you are with your ML skills. So starting with the first question. So the first question is like, in the model you were building, how do you handle category data? Very important question. So this is to check like how have you worked with category data, or how have you created model in your previous company and all. So the question is like, how do you handle category data? So handling category data is very important when you create any machine learning models. If even if you're creating logistic regression or linear regression or any modeling, it's very important to handle category data. So category data cannot be directly inputted to the model as strings or categories. For example, the categories like furniture, vegetable, meats cannot be an input to the model as it is. So for that, we need to encode that, or we need to convert this category to an integer or a binary vectors. So that technique is called category, yeah, encoding. That is called encoding, and there are multiple ways of doing it. One is label encoding. In label encoding is actually a straightforward method, and it's an easy method too, where each category is given a unique integer. So those category will be like converted to an integer there. Similarly, we have ordinal encoding. Here also we are using the same technique. So here we are just, what we are currently doing is like we are converting the distinct integer from each category. And most used one is like hot code encoding, where we are just converting this category to a binary vector using hot code encoding technique. So these are few techniques which are used to handle category data. Then the next question can be, define Sarima, define Arima. Yeah, what is the difference between Sarima and Arima? So Arima is nothing but auto-regressive integrated moving average. So it's a time series forecasted model. So that's a very simple answer. It's a time series forecasted model, and it handles non-stationary data by combining auto-regressive AR and moving average MA components. Then you can ask like, how do you handle the exceptions in Python? So handling exception is very important in any coding language. And when you create a model, or like when you want something to be a production grade, handling exception is very important. And in Python, it's very easy to do that. Use try except method. You can use this try and except method there. So that's very simple there. Moving to next question, what is matplotlib and how can you use matplotlib? So in our previous video, we already explained R versus Python. We explained like in Python, you can create beautiful visualization using PyDash. You can create dashboards too. For that, we need a package called matplotlib. Using this package, we can create flexible and strong Excel visualizations or plots. Some key features are like they are versatile, customizable, extensible, interactive plots, and also Matplotlib is actually a very powerful package to create visualization in Python. So this is a sample code for that. You can just refer the code here. Then the next question is, what is significance of p-value? Very important question, because p-value is a statistical measures which determine the significance of your result. For example, you run a model by checking a hypothesis, but using p-value, it decides whether you should reject your null hypothesis or not. Smaller the p-value, better the result. So if your p-value is less than 0.05, it's considered to be good and the results are considered to be statistically significant. So not only with the ML output, p-value is also considered when you are doing a A/B testing to test a control and trial performance. All these scenarios, p-value is very significant there. So usually p-value less than 0.05 is considered to be good. Then how do you handle large data set in Python? Very important question, because handling large data set in Python is very important. If, in the scenarios when you're creating models, when you are working with large data sets, you can do that using multiple method. The most common thing is use PySpark, because PySpark or Dask has a support of parallel processing and it can handle big data. It's well known for that too. The second thing is like chunking the data. So using pandas, you can chunk your data, because like most of the scenarios you don't need the whole data to be inputted to the model at a time. So you can chunk the data. The next question is like list few methods of NumPy array which is used. Very simple question, like you can list few. So here we have just listed few. For example, np dot come sum, np dot sum. These are like some NumPy arrays which we can use. The next question is like how do you perform simple regression in Python and which are the most common libraries you have used. So this is to check like whether you have worked on linear regression. Yeah, what is your knowledge on linear regression? There are multiple packages to do it and multiple options to do it. We have just noted very simple 3-line code, which is not the best code, but very simple 3-line code. And you can use this package called sklearn for that. For that, just import the package and your data, like divide your data into training set and test set. You can follow 70-30 or 80-20 rule, divide the data into training and test set, and then create a model on your text training set and test that against that. The next question is what is k-means and how can you select k for k-means. So k-means is popular unsupervised machine learning algorithm used for creating cluster data into distinct groups of clusters. So it's actually a it's a unsupervised machine learning algorithm, and each cluster has a k initial centroid, and which are actually recalculated based on the centroid again, and it is calculated again and again till the closest centroid point is assigned. And we can use elbow method to select k for k means. So most common method to select k is like the elbow method. The next question is what is overfitting and how can we avoid overfitting. Overfitting is actually a model error. So sometimes when you create model, you may see like the accuracy is 100% and or yeah 99.99%. So in most of the time it can be a overfitting error. So overfitting happens when the algorithm fits too closely to the training data. So the negative effect of it is like a small change in the input may drastically vary the model output, and we cannot trust the model output no more. So that's the issue with overfitting, which we should always avoid. And multiple ways to avoid overfitting. The simple method is like keep the model simple, take fewer variables and or fewer features into that. So as the variable features increase, there may be chances like it can go for overfitting. So always do a feature engineering, identify the best feature and input that to the model. The next method is like cross validation techniques like k-fold cross validation technique, which is used to avoid the overfitting, or use like regularization technique like lasso to avoid the cross overfitting method. I think the next question is like what are the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. Very simple question, and it is very asked question, and they also ask an example where you have worked on. So on the supervised learning, like you can use like supervised learning, we use label data as input and it has a feedback mechanism. Whereas unsupervised learning, it uses unlabeled data, it doesn't have any feedback mechanism. And if you talk about the examples, decision tree and logistic regression are examples of supervised, whereas k-mean cluster or hierarchical clusters are an example of unsupervised learning. So thank you all. That's for today's episode, but we will be coming up with more interview questions for data scientists and data analysts. Do follow us, subscribe us, and get the notification.